When your own mother fires you in front of the entire boardroom, there's no sound louder than your own heartbeat breaking. That day, I stood in a glass tower in downtown Atlanta, the same firm I'd helped build from the ground up, and watched her hand my position to my younger brother, the golden boy, the one who never even practiced law. Everyone clapped, pretending not to notice my face turn pale. I thought she was proud of me for closing a $15 million deal. Instead, she said, "Ryan will take over as managing director." And when I stood there frozen, she added, "Emily will assist him, in an advisory capacity." The humiliation burned deep, but that was just the beginning, because one day, that same mother who replaced me would beg me to save everything she destroyed. "Ryan will take over as managing director." That's how my mother opened the meeting. No warm-up, no build. Just that line, dropped like a verdict in front of 20 partners who pretended not to stare at me. We were in the boardroom at Parker Reeves, top floor, downtown Atlanta. Glass walls, city spread behind us like a brag. Long mahogany table polished to a mirror, white orchids, sparkling water with lemon slices sweating on silver trays. The espresso bar hissed down the hall. I could still feel the shake in my hands from the night before. I'd closed a $15 million corporate case. People had clapped when I walked in. My cheeks were warm. I'd finally let myself think, maybe today's the day. Mom stood at the head of the table in a cream suit, her hair perfect, her smile sharper than it looked. She tapped her pen once. "Big announcement," she said, soft, calm. The room leaned in. I slid my notes closer and sat up. The partners watched her. A few looked at me and gave those tiny, encouraging nods people do when they're sure which way the wind will blow. My heart kicked. I swallowed. My throat felt dry, like I'd swallowed chalk. She turned her body, not to me, but to Ryan. "Leadership transition," she said, and the way she said it made my stomach dip. I looked at my mother, trying to catch the part where she'd say my name, where she'd mentioned the years I'd eaten late dinners at my desk, the weekends I'd lived on stale coffee, the nights I'd argued clauses until the other side folded. My chest tightened with hope so sharp it hurt. She never said my name. "Ryan will take over as managing director," she continued, and smiled at him like he was everything the firm had been waiting for. It got quiet. Not real quiet, fake polite quiet, the kind where everyone breathes carefully, like noise might count as an opinion. I felt the heat vanish from my face. It was like the blood dropped straight into my shoes. I heard my own heartbeat, heavy and slow, dragging itself up my neck. "Congratulations," someone said too loud. Another partner clapped first, then a few followed, soft and reluctant. I watched hands come together like it hurt to do it. He'd never handled a single client, not one. He had a diploma and a new haircut. Everyone knew Mom had donated $400,000 to his grad program in Boston. They also knew his degree wasn't in law. Business psychology, he liked to say, like the words themselves made him a thinker. Across from me, a senior associate leaned toward another and whispered, "Didn't he just graduate?" She caught my eye and jerked back like I'd burned her. I blinked at the table, the shine of it turning my face into a warped reflection. My palms were slick. I wiped them on my skirt and kept my chin steady. My mother tapped the pen again. "Emily will assist him," she said, "in an advisory capacity." A few people coughed. Someone shifted papers just to make a sound. That line hit harder than the first. It stripped something off me in public, clean and quick. I could feel my shoulders stiffen to keep my posture from collapsing. My jaw clenched until it ached. Ryan turned his chair, slow, like the room was his stage. "Don't make this awkward, sis," he whispered. His cologne was new. He'd chosen my old seat at the head's right, the one I'd earned by results, not blood. The cufflinks on his wrists were mine, my gift from 2 birthdays ago when I still believed he might grow up. My fingers curled around my pen. It snapped. The crack made a few heads turn. A dot of ink bled on my thumb, and I stared at it because staring at anything else might make me cry. "Emily," Mom said like a warning, like she could see me breathing and took it personally. I looked up. "Is this a joke?" My voice came out even. I surprised myself. "No." She didn't blink. "It's succession planning." "I just closed the biggest case this firm has seen," I said, "yesterday." She smiled without warmth. "And we're proud." The partner to my left cleared his throat. "Ryan's got vision," he offered, as if reading a line. "Vision?" I asked, and a crack slipped into my tone. My chest tightened, my ribs moving like they weren't wide enough. "He hasn't sat through one deposition." "Emily," Mom's voice sharpened, "we'll maintain decorum." I felt 20 pairs of eyes pin me to my chair like labels. Good daughter, difficult woman, overreacting. I could read it on their faces. My mouth tasted metallic, like I'd bitten my tongue. Maybe I had. I couldn't feel it. Ryan leaned closer. "Let it go," he said softly, like he was soothing a child. "Be classy." Something inside me pitched forward. I gripped the edge of the table until my knuckles blanched. I wanted to say 1,000 things. About nights I'd slept under my desk. About times I'd kept the firm out of the news by catching mistakes nobody else saw. About loyalty and how it's never once been returned. "Congratulations," I said instead. The words scraped coming out. "Managing director." I forced a smile that didn't touch my eyes. My hands were shaking so hard I hid them in my lap. A junior associate across from me, 26, always eager, beamed at Ryan. "Can't wait to learn from you," she said. Her voice wobbled like she knew it sounded. Mom folded her hands. "We'll have a smooth transition," she said. "Ryan will meet key clients this week. Emily, you'll brief him on legacy accounts." Legacy accounts. The phrase nearly tipped me. I pressed my lips together and tasted salt. I wasn't going to cry here. Not in this room. Not in front of them. "Of course," I said. My voice sounded like it belonged to someone polite. A laugh broke to my right. Quick, nervous. Someone covered it with a cough. My skin prickled. The air felt too cold and too thin at the same time. I could feel sweat at the base of my neck, stuck under my collar. Mom scanned the room. "Any questions?" No one had any. People never have questions when they're afraid the answer will cost them. My chair slid back with a soft scrape. The noise felt enormous, like the only honest sound we'd made all morning. I stood. I smoothed my skirt because my hands needed a job. My heartbeat was a heavy thud I couldn't control. "Where are you going?" Mom asked. "Water," I said. It was the first word that came to mind that wouldn't start a war. Ryan smirked. "Don't be dramatic," he murmured. I stared at him, and something in his eyes, a tiny sparkle of triumph, made the room tilt. I steadied myself on the chair back. My fingers left damp marks on the leather. "Sit," Mom said, like I was a trainee who'd spoken out of turn. I didn't. I stepped away from the table. The carpet softened my steps. All that money under my shoes, and I felt cheap. Partners shifted as I passed, putting polite space between us like I was contagious. No one reached out. No one said my name. At the door I paused. Not because I wanted to, because my breath caught in my throat, a hard grip around my windpipe. I let it go, slow. My hands shook. I tucked them into fists so the tremor didn't show. "Emily," my mother called, calm as ever. I turned. Her face was smooth. Her eyes were steel. She didn't look at my work folder. She didn't look at the people who had watched a daughter be folded into the background of her own win. She looked at me like a chess piece that had finally moved the way she expected. "Don't forget who built this firm," she said. Something inside me went quiet. Not numb, not yet. Just quiet. I walked into Parker Reeves the next morning praying it would feel different in daylight. It didn't. The lobby smelled like burnt espresso and lemon cleaner. People pretended to be busy the second they saw me. Heads dipped. Screens suddenly needed attention. A paralegal offered a tight smile that died halfway. My stomach gave that slow roll it does before bad news. The elevator doors opened on the executive floor. It was quieter than usual, the kind of quiet that comes with held breath. I kept my eyes in front of me, past the framed verdicts, past the plaque with my biggest win, past the spot where my mother had hugged Ryan after the meeting like he'd just returned from war. My phone buzzed as I turned into my suite. HR, subject line, title update. I already knew. I opened it anyway. Effective immediately, senior legal consultant. The words hit in 2 neat lines, clean and cold. No thanks, no transition plan, just a list of systems I was losing access to. My mouth went dry. I felt heat crawl up my neck. A second email arrived before I could breathe. Facilities, office reassignment approved. New location attached with a map like I didn't know my own building. The little red pin blinked near the copy room. I stared at my door. The brass nameplate that had hung there for 5 years was gone. 2 screw holes and a lighter square were all that was left, like a tan line. On the carpet, half hidden behind a banker's box, lay the plate, bent in the middle like someone had stepped on it. A long scratch ran through Emily. I picked it up. The edge cut my thumb. A thin line of blood appeared, bright and annoying. I pressed it with my other hand and breathed slow so I didn't throw the damn thing down the hall. "Whoa." Ryan's voice came from behind me like gum stuck to a shoe. He strolled up with the takeaway coffee he definitely didn't pay for, sleeves rolled to show off those cufflinks I'd given him. "Guess I'm the boss now." I didn't look at him. Enjoy it while it lasts. He laughed softly like we were flirting. Come on, don't be bitter. Bitter is when you lose something you wanted, I said. This was theft. He leaned on the doorframe, blocking part of the hall. Mom's making the firm future-proof. He eyed the bent plate in my hand. Maybe don't take this personal. It was personal, I said. My jaw hurt. I could feel each tooth like a separate fist. 2 interns hovered at the end of the corridor, pretending to discuss a binder. I saw them glance over and then straighten up, eyes big. One whispered, "Is that her?" Like I was a headline. Ryan stepped into my office, casual, like it was his now. He scanned my shelves, my framed bar admission, the chipped mug with a faded scale of justice. He reached out, took the temporary sign from facilities, one of those plastic slide-ins, and clicked it into the bracket where my plate had been. It read, Consultant, Emily Parker. Smaller font, cheaper. I felt my chest pinch. He stood back, satisfied. There. Looks neat. Neat, I repeated, because any other word would have come out as a shout. Footsteps approached and my mother appeared, tablet in hand, face composed like always. She clocked the interns first. Don't you two have research? They vanished. She turned to us. Emily, we need to be professional. Is that what we're calling this? I asked. Careful, she said sharply, and the words sliced clean. You have work to do. Ryan has a call with Barrow Holdings in 10 minutes. You'll brief him. Ryan sipped his coffee, grin tugging. Let's not make this a scene. I felt my fingers curl in. You wanted a scene yesterday. My mother's smile didn't move. Yesterday was strategic direction. Today is execution. She watched my face for a crack and found one. Collect your things. Facilities will help with the move. Downstairs, I said, and hated how thin my voice sounded. Near ops. It's temporary, she lied easily. Now, that brief? I nodded because my throat had closed, and nodding was safer than words. I handed Ryan a folder. He took it like he was doing me a favor. Don't make this harder than it is, my mother added quietly. I swallowed. It's hard because it's wrong. Her expression cooled. Be grateful you still have a desk. The words landed like a slap. My face burned. My eyes stung. I blinked fast to hold it. Right, I said flat. She stepped away. 10 minutes, she reminded me, and disappeared down the hall, leaving the scent of her perfume and a line of cold air. Ryan stayed. Look, he said, softer, like he could pivot to good guy if he lowered his voice. We both know you're intense. People talk. They say you're hard. Demanding, I said, with results. You scare junior staff, he said, like we were swapping recipes. Mom thinks this will smooth morale. I laughed, quick and sharp. You've been here 5 minutes. He lifted his coffee. Managing is a vibe. I stared at him, and for a second I saw the boy who used to ask me to tie his shoes because he didn't want to learn the knots. Then I saw the man who took my seat and brought interns to watch. The second image swallowed the first. Get out of my office, I said. He did, still grinning. Chill, Em. We're family. I let out a breath so slow it hurt. Then I started packing. 1 box. I filled it with the things that actually belonged to me. The mug, the plant I'd kept alive against all odds, the plaque from a pro bono clinic that mattered more than any money case. Facilities left a plastic bin with my computer cables tossed in like noodles. I set my box down, pressed my palms flat against the desk to keep them from shaking, and counted breaths. The buzzing light hit exactly on cue, a small electric laugh. I took the second box down by myself. On the way, a receptionist stopped me with a forced bright, "Hey, how are you?" That wasn't a question. 2 associates passed behind me, whispering. One said, "She brought it on herself," and the other said, "Shh," the way people do when they want to be heard being decent. Back at my new desk, the interns from upstairs drifted past the door and pretended to be lost. They stared at the new placard and then at me. One managed, "Congrats on the, new space?" "Keep walking," I said without looking up. I logged into my computer. Access denied to half my folders. The old shortcuts blinked back errors like shrugs. Fine. I rebuilt what I needed from scratch because that's what I do. My hands found rhythm on the keys. The hum of the copier came through the wall, steady as a heartbeat. Every so often, someone opened the door without knocking and then did that little startle when they realized the room wasn't a supply closet. Around noon, I heard laughter drift from the stairwell. Upstairs laughter, the bright kind from people doing introductions. Probably Ryan's Meet the Team session. I swallowed hard. My tongue felt made of paper. Mom appeared in my doorway around 1. She didn't step inside. "How are you settling?" "Like a queen," I said. She ignored it. "Barrow call went fine. Ryan will need a debrief on legacy contracts at 3. "I sent a brief," I said. "Page 7 covers their non-compete." She scanned my face like she was checking for weakness. "Good." "Keep your focus, Emily." "My focus is not the problem," I said. She tilted her head. "Your tone is." My pulse jumped. My career didn't deserve this. "You're emotional," she said, and that was somehow worse than any insult. "Take a walk." "Get perspective." "Perspective?" I let out a short, humorless breath. "I'm 2 floors from the mailroom." Her mouth tightened. "Be professional," she repeated, and left. The afternoon stretched weird and slow. I finished 2 memos no one would give me credit for. I answered 3 emails with perfect grammar because control over commas felt like something. I ate a granola bar without tasting it. The copier jammed twice. The second time someone swore, hit it, and it whirred back to life like an insult. At 5, most people went home. At 6, the cleaning crew started. I stayed. Not because anyone asked, because leaving at 5 would feel like agreeing. The office turned into that strange after-hours echo chamber, every drawer slide louder, every pen click too bright. My reflection looked small in the dark glass, and I hated that observation even as I clocked it. I organized a file that didn't need organizing. I reread an email 3 times and still couldn't see the words. I opened a blank document, typed my name at the top, and stared at it until the letters blurred. My hands had stopped shaking, but my shoulders throbbed like I'd been lifting something heavy all day that no one else could see. Around 8:30, a security guard poked his head in. "Late one," he said kindly. "Yeah," I said. My voice sounded normal again. That almost made me cry. He nodded and left. The building exhaled. My laptop pinged. "New email. Sender, David Chen, old client, good one. Subject, quick question." I clicked so fast the cursor skipped. "Are you still with the firm?" Just 6 words, and my heart did a hard stutter. My fingers hovered above the keys. I could hear my mother's voice in my head. "Be grateful you still have a desk." I could hear Ryan's. "Don't make this awkward, sis." My thumb still had a thin line of dried blood. I pressed the spacebar just to feel the key travel. I typed, deleted, typed again. The words that finally stayed were simple, quiet, honest. Not for long. I didn't send it yet. I stared at the line, the thin black truth cutting through the day, and felt something click inside me. Not loud, not dramatic, just a decision settling into place. My breath slowed. The buzzing light flickered on cue. The cursor blinked at the end of the sentence like it was waiting to see who I'd be next. I rested my fingers on the keys, steady for the first time all day, and let the promise sit there, bright on the screen, daring me to follow it. I was 9 when I ran home with the spelling bee trophy, the cheap plastic star wobbling at the top. I burst into the kitchen, cheeks hot, heart tripping, the ribbon string cutting into my palm. Mom didn't look up. Ryan sat at the table with paint all over his hands. She held his brush, guiding it like he was delicate glass. "I won," I said, bouncing on my toes. "Don't brag, Emily," she answered, eyes still on his paper. "Let your brother have his moment." He'd come in last at the art fair. I stood there with first place in my hand and felt the whole house shrink. I set the trophy by the fruit bowl. It wobbled again and stilled. Ryan blew on his painting, smug for no reason at all. Ryan winked at me, a slow, private wink. I felt my jaw lock. In my head, I was back in middle school, gymnasium lights buzzing, my science fair ribbon still warm from the judge's hand. Mom looked at my board and sighed. "You're too competitive," she said, like I'd broken something. "Ryan tried," she added, soft, as if effort counted as a prize. At the office, effort, his, was suddenly the headline. He tried on everything. Every stumble turned into a lesson in vision. Every win I brought in turned into a footnote. After the Monday meeting, I walked past the bullpen. 2 associates paused by the kitchenette. They didn't realize I was close. "She's too strict," one said, pouring coffee. "She's intense," the other replied. "He's easy to work with." I kept walking. My hands went cold. It stung in a place I thought I'd built armor over. My phone buzzed. A calendar invite. Team mixer tonight, rooftop lounge. Host, Ryan. My name wasn't on the guest list. It wasn't an accident. When I was 10, I asked for a bike. "Walk," Mom said. "You don't need it." 2 months later, Ryan got a limited edition BMX for his confidence. He smashed it into the curb on day 1 and cried. She hugged him like he'd survived something brave. That night at the firm, the rooftop lights glowed. Laughter drifted down the stairwell. I stayed at my desk, the cold light of the monitor on my hands. Group photos hit social before the drinks did. Ryan held a glass high, arm around one of my clients, the caption, "New Era, New Energy." My throat tightened until swallowing hurt. My fingers hovered over the comment box. I wanted to write, "Those are my clients." I wanted to remind them who brought those numbers, those contracts, those late-night wins that kept the lights hot. I didn't type it. I deleted the app instead and sat in the quiet, feeling foolish for needing a screen to tell me my place. Another flashback forced itself in. 14 now, regional debate champs. I carried a stack of certificates up the driveway, shoes muddy, hair a mess, heart loud. Mom opened the door. "Shh," she whispered. "Your brother's resting. He had a hard day." "What happened?" I asked. "He didn't make the JV team," she said. "He feels terrible." He'd never practiced. I'd practiced until my voice cracked. She handed me a dish towel. "Can you set the table?" she added, like a kindness. I set the table that night with my throat burning and my palms damp, then did it again at the firm years later, but with briefs and memos and wins. I set tables I never got to sit at. The day after the mixer, I walked into Mom's office with a client update. She didn't look up. "Later," she said. "It's urgent," I said, putting the folder down. "Ryan can handle it," she replied, pushing it back with 2 fingers. "He hasn't read the file," I said. "He didn't even sit for intake." She set the pen down. "Don't challenge me in my office." I stared at her. "I'm trying to protect the firm." She tilted her head. "You win cases, Emily," she said calmly, "but no one likes you at the table." It hit harder than if she'd slapped me. I swallowed. "Is that the story you tell yourself, or the one he sold you?" Her mouth tightened. "Watch your tone." I nodded once. "Yes, ma'am." My voice scraped thin. I left her office and passed the glass walls of the conference room. Ryan stood inside with a group, palms up, pretending to teach leadership. He caught my eye and smirked. The same smirk he'd had at 12 when he spilled juice on my essay and said, "Oops," like my work was built to be ruined. Dad's voice threaded through my head, soft and tired. "Don't argue with your mother. Keep your head down." That advice had been a blanket over a bruise, warm, but no help. By lunch, I'd heard charismatic 3 times. "Ryan's so charismatic," a partner said at the elevator. "He listens," another added. "Emily's a machine," someone laughed, not kindly. "Great engine, not a driver." I ate at my desk, salad going soggy while emails stacked. I kept my jaw tight so my face wouldn't show what my chest felt. My hands were cold. I sat on them to warm them like a child. Another memory surfaced on its own. 17. Acceptance letter to the college I'd dreamed of. I ran it to the living room. "I got in," I said, voice shaking. Mom barely glanced up from the TV. "That's nice," she murmured. "Ryan's essay was hard. He tried so hard." "He didn't write it," I said before I could stop myself. Her eyes snapped to me. "Don't be cruel," she said. The word landed and stayed. Years later, everything I said that didn't praise him became cruel. Everything he took became deserved. In the afternoon, I walked into a client status huddle. The junior associate on the case started. "Emily thinks we should—" "Actually," Mom cut in, "Ryan's been shaping the overall client experience. We'll go with his plan." The plan was a glossy nothing. It sat. In the late afternoon, I took a walk down the hall to breathe air that didn't smell like someone else's ego. 2 associates stood near the elevators, the same pair from the kitchenette. They lowered their voices and didn't lower them enough. "She's always so intense," one said, "like everything is a fight." "Ryan's smooth," the other replied. "He makes things easy." "He makes things wrong," I said, stepping into their view. They flushed a deep, guilty red, and I fixed them. They scattered with a flurry of "Sorry, Emily," that meant nothing. My shoulders ached from holding myself upright. By 5, the day had rubbed me down to the grain. I stayed late because leaving early felt like proof of something I didn't want to confirm. The office emptied into humming silence. I rechecked a motion, reorganized a file, anything to keep my hands busy while my chest cooled. My phone lit up. Unknown number. I hesitated and picked up. "This is Emily." A pause, a familiar low voice. "It's Mark," he said, "one of our oldest clients, steady as oak, quick to pay, slow to talk." "Mark," I said, sitting up, "everything okay?" "Depends," he answered. Papers rustled on his end. "I just met the kid." "The one with the title Ryan," I said, pulse ticking faster. That one, he said. His breath came through the line like a measured thing. He smiles a lot. Says nothing. I felt my cheeks heat. I'm sorry about that. You running my account? He asked. I can, I said carefully, if I'm assigned. He made a non-committal sound. Your mother says he's the face. He's new, I said. He's learning. You win, he said plainly. He performs. I pressed my lips together. We both want what's best for you. Stop with the PR, Emily, he said, not unkindly. Tell me yes or no. Are you still my lawyer? The room got small around me. I stared at the wall until it stopped moving. Yes, I said. It came out before I could engineer it. Silence again, then a soft chuckle. That's what I thought. He lowered his voice. I only trust you. Something unclenched in my chest so fast I had to take a breath. In the corner of my mind, the kitchen trophy wobbled and stilled. I could almost feel its cheap weight in my hand, the edge digging into my skin. Mom's voice from years ago floated up. Don't brag, Emily. And then, from today, sharper. No one likes you at the table. I pressed my palms flat on the desk until they warmed. My throat settled. The sting in my cheek faded. The phone lay dark on the wood, quiet and sure. Mark's words echoed, soft but heavy. I only trust you. If you ever go solo, I'll follow. The idea scared me in a way that felt like stepping out onto a balcony and realizing the railing is steady under your hands. Scary, yes. Also solid. Down the hall, someone laughed at something harmless. Upstairs, someone probably called Ryan charismatic again. I didn't care, not for a clean second. I sat there, hands steady now, and let the sentence hang in the room with me like a new kind of light. If I ever go solo, I'll follow. I walked in after another meeting that felt like a staged apology I was supposed to accept. The hallway lights hummed. My badge beeped green. No one met my eyes. At my desk, my inbox blinked red like a rash. Reassignment notice, reassignment confirmation, client contact update. I clicked the first one, then the next, then 10 more. Every top case I'd built moved under Ryan's name with one sentence. Leadership realignment in effect. My throat went tight. No yelling, no tears, just that heavy, dull thud in my chest. It's over. I stood, walked straight to my mother's office, and didn't knock. She was at her desk, posture perfect, reading an email that looked important because she'd decided it was. You moved my cases, I said. She didn't look up. The firm needs leadership alignment. You mean obedience. Her eyes finally flicked to mine, cold, tired of me. Don't make this harder than it is. I stepped closer. You took clients who chose me. You took the work I won. Say why. She put the tablet down, breathed steady. You've become a liability. The word clipped me across the face. I felt myself lock up, shoulders hard, breath shallow. A liability, I repeated, just to hear how far she was willing to go. You're combative, she said crisply. You alienate staff. Clients want warmth. Clients want results, I said, and I deliver. She shook her head once, final. This isn't a debate. It's theft, I said. You're done, she snapped. You can either accept your new scope or you can leave. You already decided that for me. Then be an adult about it, she said, voice like ice. Pack your pride and do your job. The door creaked behind me. Ryan leaned there like a brand new painting. Hey, don't take it personal, sis, he said, voice sunny with fake care. You were great at the groundwork. Groundwork. He said it like I laid carpet while he drew blueprints. My hands started to tingle. I turned to him. That's the last line you'll ever get from me. He smiled wider. You'll calm down. No, I said, I won't. I walked out before my chest cracked open in front of them. Back in my office, I sat and pulled up a blank email. Subject line, resignation, effective immediately. The cursor blinked like a dare. I typed, deleted, typed again. 1 paragraph, 2 lines, no therapy words, no nostalgia. I read it once. I hit send. My finger hovered over the mouse a second longer, then lifted. The air felt different, thinner and cleaner. My body realized before my brain did. I exhaled so quietly it was almost a laugh. Ding! HR, received, effective immediately. That fast, that easy. I let an actual laugh slip out, short and mean. So that's what I was worth in this building, a keyboard shortcut. I pulled a banker's box from the cabinet. The cardboard scraped as it unfolded. I put my law books in first, heavy and honest. The plaque from my first win, the chipped mug with the faint scale on it. A picture of me and Dad from a courthouse steps day, his hand proud on my shoulder, his smile careful, like he didn't want to be seen taking sides. The plant I kept telling myself wasn't dead. I refused to throw it away. It looked like a promise I could still keep. As I placed the last file, Mom appeared in the doorway. She took in the box, the empty shelves. "You're making a huge mistake," she said, calm like a verdict. "So did you," I said, matching her tone. Her jaw flexed. "Don't be dramatic." Ryan slid in behind her, holding a client folder he couldn't pronounce last week. He scanned the room like he was pricing it. "Good luck surviving without Parker and Reeves." I felt heat rise to my cheeks. My hands trembled around the box, then steadied. "Good luck surviving without me," I said, and brushed past them. My shoulder clipped his suit. He stepped back like I'd shoved him. In the hallway, people turned to watch. Some did that frozen smile, the "I'm with whoever wins" look. No one stopped me. No one said my name. The elevator doors opened like a clean page. "Today," I said. He slid a key across. "Which company?" I looked at the blank line on the paper and felt my stomach flip. My mouth moved before fear could. "Parker Legal Strategies." He scribbled it like he'd written better and worse all week. "You got first month, last month?" "Yes." My hands fished for the checkbook I kept for emergencies I was never allowed to have. He pointed down a hallway that smelled like new paint and dust. "Suite 302. Window faces the alley. Don't open it. Pigeons." I carried the box up the stairs because the elevator made a noise I didn't trust. The door stuck before it opened, like the room was deciding whether to let me in. The space was small, bare walls, a desk that wobbled, a metal chair that remembered every person who'd sat on it. I set the box on the desk and listened to my footsteps echo as I moved. It wasn't much. It was mine. I plugged in my laptop. The screen lit the room like a little fire. I stole a chair from the hallway, propped the plant on the sill like it needed to learn the view. I stared at the inbox that was suddenly empty and started filling it on purpose. 10 emails. Short. Clean. No drama. "I've left Parker and Reeves. If you need me, I'm here." Hitting send each time felt like tapping a vein and finding it flows. I waited with my hands under my thighs so I wouldn't shake. 15 minutes. 30. I kept breathing, kept not crying. At minute 42, the first reply landed. Finally, someone with integrity. My chest lifted, a small, shaky laugh. I covered my mouth and let my eyes water without letting them fall. Then another. "We want you on retainer." Then a third, brisk and grateful. My phone lit up with numbers I knew and some I didn't. I answered 2, scheduled 3. I said thank you until the words felt too small and still right. My stomach growled. I looked around for a fork that didn't exist. I drank water straight from the bottle and sat on the floor with my back against the wall because the chair squeaked every time I breathed. The late light slid across the desk and caught dust in the air, each speck drifting like the building was exhaling with me. My screen glowed with new questions, new work, the good kind. I drafted a retainer letter with my name at the top and read it twice just to taste it. I ordered business cards with a design so plain it felt brave. The printer asked for a logo. I typed Parker Legal Strategies in a simple font, hit approve, felt something unclench between my ribs. My phone buzzed again. Unknown. Unknown. I hesitated, then swiped. "Emily?" A woman's voice, low, steady, familiar in the bones. "Yes," I said, sitting up. My heart jumped against my ribs. "It's Evelyn Ross." A pause like a judge taking the room back. "We need to talk." My mouth went dry. I shifted on the floor, hand braced on the wood because my knees suddenly forgot their job. "Judge Ross," I said, breath catching over the title. "How are you?" "Busy," she said, and I heard the smile she gave to very few. "You left the firm." "I did." "Good," she said simply, then quieter. "Took you long enough." A sound that was almost a laugh slipped out of me. "I thought I needed permission." "From who?" she asked, and that one word stripped a decade of excuses clean. "Everyone," I said. "Anyone." "You needed a door," she said. "You have one. Close it behind you." I looked around at my small, bright, empty office, the dead plant leaning toward a window it wasn't supposed to open, the box half unpacked, my laptop humming like it believed in me. "I can help," she said, her voice shifting into something that made my shoulders loosen. Strategy, not sympathy. "Not tonight, but soon." Thank you," I said, and the words tangled because there were 100 more beneath them. Get sleep, she said. Tomorrow, work. The line clicked. I kept the phone to my ear a second longer, then set it on the desk like a fragile thing. I stood slowly. My legs felt new. I walked to the window and looked at the alley, dumpsters, brick, a sliver of sky. I could hear a bar 2 streets over, the rise and fall of a crowd that didn't care who ran what. A car alarm coughed, then quit. Somewhere a dog barked once and decided against it. I rested my forehead against the glass and let the cold calm me. My fingers trembled, then stilled. My breath came in and went out, long, steady. The fear didn't vanish. It just stopped running the room. Under it, something steady hummed, small, stubborn, mine. My laptop pinged from the desk. Another reply, then another. I didn't rush. I didn't freeze. I turned back, wiped my face with the heel of my hand, and sat down. My chair squeaked. I smiled at it like we had a deal. I typed, clear and fast, like I'd been waiting for this sentence my whole life. Thank you for reaching out. I'm available. Let's begin. I was finally breathing again. 3 client files open on my desk. Coffee rings like badges. A half-eaten bagel, cold but earned. My inbox. We hung up, and within an hour the first post hit LinkedIn. Disloyal daughter opens fake firm. Then another on a legal board. She stole client data. Beware. Comments landed like rocks. Ungrateful. Family disgrace. She rode her mother's coattails anyway. She only wins because of the family name. My teeth clicked together. I responded to one, typing too fast. Deleted. Responded again. Deleted. My hands shook. I put the phone face down, picked it up again. Reported 3 comments. 10 more replaced them like weeds. By afternoon, 2 calls canceled due to internal changes. A third asked for a pause until things clear up. My phone, which hadn't stopped buzzing for days, turned quiet in a way that felt mean. At 2 in the morning, I was still scrolling. My eyes burned, my jaw ached from clenching. I read, "She's dangerous, she's unstable, she's copying her family brand." I typed, "False." Deleted it. Blocked 2 strangers. Then I just stared at the screen and let the words wash over me until I felt a little numb. I stood, walked to the bathroom, and threw up. Dry heaves first, then the coffee and nothing breakfast. I rinsed my mouth at the sink and saw myself in the mirror. Too pale, eyes ringed, shoulders up by my ears like I'd been bracing all day. I cupped water into my face and let it drip down, paper towel scratchy against my skin. "Get it together," I told the mirror. My voice came out hoarse. I slept 3 hours on the office couch with my blazer for a blanket. When I woke, my phone had 43 notifications and no warmth. At 9 a.m., a knock. I opened the door and Evelyn walked in like a weather change. Calm coat, sharp eyes, everything precise. She looked at my desk, the cold coffee, the mess, the strain on my face I couldn't hide. "I've seen this before," she said quietly. "They're trying to bury you." I swallowed. "It's working." She set her bag down. "Do you trust me?" "Yes." She took out an envelope and pressed it into my hand. It felt heavy. I opened it and blinked. A check. Too many zeros. 200,000, she said. "Call it a loan." "Call it belief." "I can't take this," I said, throat tight. "You can," she said, "and you will. Fight back." "I don't want your money." "You want your name," she said. "Take both." My eyes stung. I looked away, jaw shaking once. "Why are you doing this?" "Because I watched them do this to women who were better," she said. "Because you are one of them, and because you're not allowed to fold." I couldn't speak. I nodded instead. A small, sharp nod I felt all the way down my spine. We got to work. Not comfort, strategy. By noon, I'd hired a media lawyer on retainer, a PR strategist who didn't care about nice, only true. A digital team that mapped every post, every burner account, every whisper from a fake profile with a brand new puppy avatar. We drafted a statement, short and clean. All client work originated with Parker Legal Strategies. All documents produced independently. Evidence attached. We didn't say her name. We didn't say his. We showed timestamps. We showed metadata. We showed a chain of custody that could stand in court and under fire. The digital team sent me a dashboard. The smear posts were clustered around 2 accounts tied to the firm's marketing vendor. The legal board rumor traced to a partner's spouse. I stared at the screen until anger burned off the fear. "Of course," I muttered. Evelyn sat across from me, reading my face. "You're not crazy," she said. "I know," I said, but hearing it mattered. That afternoon, a junior from a vendor sent an anonymous tip to our hotline, a PDF dump, internal memos, drafts of LinkedIn posts with timestamps before my launch. Someone had planned the words fake firm days ahead. Another folder showed red lines on Ryan's contracts, missed dates, misfiled exhibits, a confidentiality clause pasted from a blog. I felt my stomach turn hot. "Send it to the media lawyer," Evelyn said, "and breathe." I did. We pushed our own receipts quietly. We didn't grandstand. No long threads, no dramatics. Just proof. By evening, 2 clients who had paused called back. "We saw your statement," one said. "We're not going anywhere." Another apologized for doubting. I took the apologies without gloating because relief was louder. Then, the arbitration ruling hit my inbox. The case I'd prepped alone, the one they whispered I stole. Decision in my favor. In my firm's name. Parker Legal Strategies spelled right in the header. My hands shook as I scrolled through the reasoning. Solid, clean, mine. I forwarded it to the client with a simple line. We delivered. Then I leaned back and put a hand over my eyes. A laugh snuck out of me, raw and shaky. 10 minutes later, an alert. The Atlanta Tribune, fired daughter rebuilds stronger. I clipped. The headline sat there like a dare. The article was measured, not syrupy. Quote from an independent counsel. Her filings are airtight. A sentence about retaliation in family businesses. My name printed without a barb. I read it once. Twice. I pressed my tongue to my teeth to keep it together and still felt tears slide anyway. I wiped them with my wrist and kept reading. Then the board lit up. A thread appeared. Miles and Company under question. People began to piece it together. The leaked memos, the vendor ties, the misfiled contracts that didn't have my initials anywhere near them. The phone finally rang. Not a text, a call. "Miss Parker?" The voice was young, nervous. You could hear the office buzz behind him. Sorry, I know you're busy. Who is this?" "Luis," he said, "from Parker and Reeves." I sat up. My hand went cold around the phone. "Why are you calling me, Luis?" He lowered his voice. "Your brother's in trouble." The room pulled in around me. My pen rolled off the desk and clacked on the floor. "What happened?" "I can't." He exhaled into the receiver. "You should know. A client is threatening to sue for breach. 8 figures. The clause is wrong." My throat went dry. "What clause?" "The indemnity," he said. "He copied it. He didn't check the jurisdiction line." I closed my eyes for a second. The hum of the lights, the faint traffic outside, my own pulse tapping my wrist. "Luis," I said, steady now, "why tell me?" "Because," he said, voice breaking a little, "they're gonna blame you next." The words slid into place like they'd been waiting all day. "Where are you?" I asked. "In a stairwell," he said. "I have to go." "Luis!" Click. The line went dead. I set the phone down carefully, like it might explode if I moved too fast. My hand shook once and then stopped. The office went very quiet. The air felt thin, like something was about to break in a different room and I would hear it from here. I stared at the door, at the little plaque that still looked temporary, at the plant leaning toward a window I still hadn't opened. I let the quiet sit. I didn't reach for the keyboard. I didn't reach for my coat. I gripped the edge of the desk and just breathed, slow and long, until the hum came back into my body and the world steadied to a low, certain thrum. Trouble at Parker and Reeves, and my name already loaded in the chamber. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I let the silence hold me like a starting line and waited for the next sound. The day started quiet, the good kind. Files stacked in clean rows, a playlist low enough to feel like air. My coffee was still warm. I leaned back, loosened my shoulders, and let myself believe this was normal. Clients, work, my name on the door. My phone buzzed on the desk, once, twice, 5 times in a row. Mom lit the screen in a little column of missed calls. I let the 6th ring out, then answered. "Emily," she breathed, ragged, not regal. "Please, it's bad." "The firm's being sued." Silence. Just her breath. Then the blade. "You're just like your father." He walked away, too. My jaw locked. Heat shot up my neck. "No," I said, each letter steady. "He was kind." I ended the call. The room rang with the click. My pulse thudded in my wrists. I pressed my fingertips to the desk and let the tremor ride out. Morning turned into messages I didn't ask for. A news alert popped up. Parker and Reeves sued for $10 million, conflict of interest alleged. My inbox bloomed with reporters requesting comments, radio producers fishing for quotes, strangers wanting the inside story. I turned the sound off and worked. I was done saving people who burned me. By noon, my phone buzzed again, group chats exploding, Colleagues sending screenshots like gossip was oxygen. Ryan had posted a statement. A rogue associate made errors. We are investigating a rogue associate. I laughed hard enough to cough. Then my assistant Kara slid in a chair beside my desk, eyes wide. Insiders are leaking, she said, tapping her tablet. It was him, Emily. He filed the indemnity with the wrong jurisdiction. It's his signature on the wrong version. Of course it is, I said. My mouth tasted like metal. Clients started calling, not to leave, just to ask if I was okay. That startled me more than the headlines. I kept answers short. Working, we're good. My voice sounded solid. It helped. By afternoon, the internet had a new favorite image. Mom leaving the courthouse, lips pressed thin, purse clutched to her chest. The caption writers smelled blood. I stared at the photo on my screen, thumb hovering over the share button, and felt nothing like triumph. Just a bone-deep fatigue. I locked my phone and put it face down. I tried to eat a banana. It tasted like chalk. The music was still playing, something slow and calm. I turned it off. The silence felt cleaner. At 6, voicemail from Mom. Emily, please, this is our legacy. Another call came in while I listened. I let it ring into the same message. I deleted both before they finished. The guilt landed and tried to stick. I let it slide. I owed them nothing but silence. By 8, the building had emptied. Streetlight glow cut a narrow stripe across my carpet. 9:15. My phone lit up. Unknown number. I let it ring once, twice, then picked up. Emily Parker. Miss Parker? A young man, breath short, voice thin. It's Louis. From Parker and Reeves, I sat back down. Louis. I'm in a stairwell, he whispered. I heard the echo of concrete and panic. Your brother's losing it. He's blaming everyone. He's trying to push a press release saying you set him up. I closed my eyes. Of course he is. They're drafting it now. Paper rustled near the phone. He's saying you manipulated the files when you were here. We have the audit, but listen to me, I said. Do not send anything. That release will sink the firm faster. I'm just an analyst, he said. They won't listen. Send me the audit trail, I said, privately. To my personal, I could get fired. You'll get fired anyway, I said, softer. Send it. He exhaled shakily. Okay. And Louis, I added, document everything. I am, he said. I'm sorry. I have to go. He hung up. I stared at the dark phone screen. My reflection looked tired and clear. I turned to the window. The city hummed like it always does. Cabs, laughter, a siren far off but not urgent. My chest loosened one notch. 10 minutes later, my inbox pinged. The audit trail arrived. Humming to cover the fear, I opened it. There it was, version history stamped to the minute. Ryan's login. Ryan's edits. Ryan's resolved comments that broke what was already fine. I forwarded the file to my lawyer with one line. For records, do not engage. I CC'd no one. At 10, I made tea and didn't drink it. I stood at the window, cup warm in my hands, and let my forehead rest against the glass. Cool. Solid. My breath fogged a little circle and cleared. By 11, the story began to shift. A local blog ran a piece. Source, managing director signed faulty clause. It cited internal audit logs. It stopped shy of a name and drew a perfect outline of one. The comments were quieter this time. The trolls had less to chew on. The real lawyers were talking now. My phone vibrated across the desk. Mom again. I let it ring until it died. Midnight. Kara texted. You good? I'm fine, I sent. It was half true. Good enough. I locked up, grabbed my coat, then put it back. I wasn't ready to go home yet. The office felt like a safe box. I sat again, elbows on the desk, palms warm. I looked at the plant on the sill. It had 2 new leaves. I hadn't noticed. My phone chimed from the corner. I ignored it. Then Kara's face appeared in my doorway, hair pulled into a lopsided bun, cheeks flushed from the stairs. She'd run. You need to see this, she said, breathless. My stomach dropped in that slow, familiar way. What now? She slid her laptop onto my desk and turned it to me. A fresh headline glared back. Ryan Parker files lawsuit against sister for defamation. The room cooled. My fingers went numb. I clicked the link. The civil filing was blunt, sloppy, angry. He accused me of orchestrating a smear, of interference, of malicious falsehoods that cost him reputation and revenue. No evidence, just heat and words. I let out a small, humorless breath. So this is how they want to play it. Kara watched my face. What do we do? I leaned back. The chair creaked like it had opinions. My heartbeat slowed to a steady drum. I looked at the headline, then at my hands. Calm now, finally calm. I closed the laptop gently, as if the sound might change the next move. "We play smarter," I said, voice even. My thumb found the groove in the desk I've never noticed, a small worn spot where maybe nervous people press. "And we don't blink." Karen nodded, shoulders dropping a little. She exhaled the fear she'd been holding for me. "Okay." Outside, a car door slammed, quick and sharp, then faded. Inside, the office hummed low. I stood, walked to the window, and rested my palm against the glass. It was cooler than before. My breath didn't fog this time. I wasn't going back. I wasn't picking up. I wasn't fixing their mess to earn the right to be blamed for theirs. The line had been drawn for me, and I was finally standing on my side of it. Behind me, my phone buzzed again. I didn't turn. I flexed my fingers once, rolled my shoulders, and kept my eyes on the sliver of streetlight. "So this is how they want to play it," I repeated lower, to the quiet room that knew me now. The courtroom hummed like a crowded throat clearing. Suits everywhere, perfume layered over nerves. I walked down the aisle slow, spine straight, hands steady on the folder I didn't need. I felt eyes crawl across me, press, partners, strangers waiting to watch a sister bleed a brother. I sat at counsel table and kept my breathing even. Across the aisle, my mother watched me like a judge who'd already written her ruling. Same rigid shoulders, same mouth that carved. She looked smaller inside that blazer. Not weaker, cornered. Ryan didn't look at me at all. He grinned at his phone, thumb moving fast like a teenager hiding panic with jokes. The clerk called us to order. A few cameras clicked before the bailiff snapped, "No photos." The room stilled. Opposing counsel rose, immaculate, voice like polished wood. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is simple. Ms. Parker defamed her brother publicly and maliciously. Her statement sabotaged Parker and Reeves and caused irreparable harm. Words like nails, intentional, malicious, irreparable." He walked them slow, letting each stick. "She didn't just criticize," he added, palm slicing. "She waged a campaign." I kept my eyes front. My chest heated, then cooled. He paraded exhibits that weren't exhibits. Screenshots of headlines, my firm's clean statement, a timeline bent to fit his story. He threw my last name like a weapon. Then he sat. The echoes he wanted stayed in the room. My attorney stood. She was 5'3" and built like a no. Her voice landed even. "We'll show Ms. Parker's statements were true, backed by records. We'll show the plaintiff's firm altered internal documents to conceal misconduct. And we'll show this case is not about defamation. It's about retaliation." A ripple. Not big, just enough to loosen my shoulders. The judge nodded once. "Proceed." Ryan went up first. White shirt blinding, tie too cheerful for a malpractice week. He put on that old smile, a shiny lid on nothing. Opposing counsel guided him soft. "Mr. Parker, how did Ms. Parker's statements affect your firm?" "They destroyed it," he said quickly. "She wanted that." "Did you file accurate contracts?" "Yes." "Did you falsify any records?" "No." He said it all like a child reciting lines he practiced in a mirror. Smooth, empty, confident. Cross. My attorney approached with a thin binder and a face that gave nothing away. "Mr. Parker," she said, "let's talk about the Westridge agreement. The one behind the $10 million claim." He shifted. "Okay." She placed a document on the rail. "Exhibit C, the indemnity clause your firm filed." He leaned forward. "Right." She slid another copy next to it. "Exhibit D, the draft before your edits. Do you recognize your login here? rparker_admin?" He laughed too loud. "It's a shared account." "Shared with whom?" "Legal ops." "Names?" He blinked. "We, rotate." She let the silence taste bad. "Is that your signature at the bottom?" Ryan looked down. The pause stretched. "Yes," he said, the word flat. "And is the jurisdiction line, governed by Delaware law, your addition?" "Standard," he said. "For a Georgia-based dispute?" He swallowed. "It works." "Does it?" she asked quietly. "Or did it trigger a breach?" He glanced at Mom. She didn't move. His mouth opened, closed. "It was fine," he muttered. "Mr. Parker," my attorney said, voice tightening just one notch, "did you override an associate's correction on this clause?" "I don't recall." She turned a page. "Audit log shows your resolved comment at 11:42 p.m. We go with my version. That your tone?" He tried a shrug. "It reads like me." It reads like me. The room picked the phrase up and tested its weight. Across the aisle, my mother's jaw twitched. The muscles there fought to hold. She whispered toward him without sound. He stared at the wall and pretended not to hear. Opposing counsel leapt up. "Objection! Foundation!" "Overruled," the judge said, not looking at him. My attorney nodded. No further questions, for now. We broke for recess. The air in the hallway was colder and smelled like coffee that had given up. I stepped toward a water cooler, felt her before I saw her. "You could have fixed this," Mom hissed. Close. Her perfume swallowed the air in front of me. I met her eyes. "You taught me to fix everything," I said, "even what you broke." People walking past slowed. She flared. "You think you're better than your family?" "No," I said softly, "just more honest." Her face went still, a beat of pure, sharp quiet. Then she turned and walked back to their table like her heels were nails. Back in, we didn't waste time. "Defense, call your witness," the judge said. "We call Dr. Patel," my attorney answered, our forensic IT expert. Crisp suit, patient hands. He explained metadata like he was reading a recipe. Timestamps, IP addresses, edit histories, the map of every finger that touched the file. "Dr. Patel," my attorney asked, "whose credentials appear on the final edits to the clause at issue?" "R. Parker_admin, he said. "And which device?" He read off a MacBook serial number. "Assigned to Ryan Parker." Opposing counsel tried teeth. "Doctor, can metadata be faked?" "Not across 3 systems under subpoena," he answered, "and not in a way that aligns to one person's login, IP, and device serial times on 3 different nights." "Objection! Speculative!" Overruled. It wasn't dramatic. It was clean. The kind of clean that makes lies slippery. My attorney lifted the thin binder again. "Your Honor, defense submits Exhibits 14 through 21, complete audit trails, vendor emails, and the firm's own help desk ticket noting the plaintiff locked associates out of version control." The judge flipped through the pages, brow furrowed. "Mr. Parker," he said at last, voice cooled to steel, "these records indicate direct manipulation of firm documents." Opposing counsel sprang up. "Objection, Your Honor! Argumentative!" Overruled. The gavel didn't fall. The judge didn't need it. There was a sound then, a room remembering how to breathe. Papers shifted. A whisper died quick. I felt my shoulders drop a fraction. Opposing counsel scrambled to make shape out of smoke. He called a junior partner who barely lasted 3 questions before admitting he hadn't seen the edits, only the fallout. He called a vendor who corrected him on dates. He tried to toss my firm's statement as PR spin. The judge didn't blink. I stayed still, hands folded, palms dry now. My lawyer touched my elbow, small and sure. She didn't need to say anything. Closing came faster than it felt. Opposing counsel stood, suit still perfect. "Ms. Parker publicly attacked her family," he insisted, "and she did it for gain." My attorney rose. "Truth isn't defamation," she said, "and family isn't immunity." The judge leaned forward, elbows on the bench, eyes on the file, not the theater. He spoke with the weight of someone sick of people using his courtroom to relitigate holiday dinners. "The court finds," he said, "that the plaintiff has failed to meet the burden for defamation. Further, the defense has presented credible documentary evidence supporting the truth of Ms. Parker's statements. The complaint is dismissed, with prejudice. Costs to the plaintiff." For a beat, no one moved. Then the gavel kissed wood. Not loud. Final. My lungs remembered their job. Air went in, then out, shaky on the exit. My vision pricked and flattening like a camera flash. No, like a head rush. I blinked until the room returned. My attorney's hand pressed my shoulder once, a punctuation. I looked right. Mom sat too straight, eyes glossed with fury she couldn't file. Her mouth opened a millimeter and stayed there. Ryan stared at the table like it owed him money. A vein worked in his temple. For 1 second, I saw the boy who broke things and called it oops. Then the man he chose to be swallowed him again. We stood. People rustled into aisles. A reporter whispered, "That's her." A flash went off anyway. The bailiff barked again. In the hall, microphones multiplied like weeds. "Ms. Parker, how do you feel? Any message for your family? Will you sue in return? Are you vindictive? Was this revenge?" I lifted my hand and the line went quiet enough to walk through. No comment, I said. Calm. My chest felt weirdly light and sore at once, like muscles after a long hold. Outside, the sky was a flat gray and smelled like rain that hadn't decided. My phone vibrated non-stop. I didn't look. My attorney dodged cameras like she'd been born doing it. Go, she murmured. Don't feed the beast. We slid into a rideshare and didn't talk. The driver glanced at us in the mirror like he knew but wouldn't say. My hands were steady on my lap. I watched Atlanta slide by. Storefronts, a man arguing sweetly into a phone, a girl dragging a cello case half her size. Noise that had nothing to do with me. At my office, we hugged quick, awkward and exact. Good job, she said. You too. She smiled once, real, then left me in the quiet. I placed the file on my desk. Saturday stared at the plant that was fully. A year later, my office sounded like calm. Phones rang steady, not frantic. Laughter drifted once in a while from the paralegal bay. Contracts stacked in clean piles on my desk. Initials crisp, no one second-guessing my signature. I could finally breathe without checking who was watching. One thing didn't belong, an unopened envelope on the corner of my desk. My mother's handwriting, slanted and tight. I kept telling myself I'd toss it. I didn't. I let it sit there like a splinter I could live with. Kara tapped the glass. Quick update, she said, slipping in with her tablet. Filing went public this morning. She swiped. The header glared up at me. Parker and Reeves LLP. Dissolution approved. 4 generations, boiled down to a stamped PDF. My shoulders dropped a notch. No joy, no grief. Just a long, steady exhale. Kara watched my face. You want me to? It's fine, I said. Archive it. She nodded. Rumor mill says Ryan left for London. Independent advisor, her mouth twitched. His headline screams consultant. His eyes screen lost. Same charm, I said, sliding a pen cap between my fingers. New mess. When she left, I stood at the window. Midtown spread out under a clean sky, cranes moving like slow thoughts. I waited for that old feeling, the one that demanded I earn my right to stand here. It didn't come. Under the pride, there was a small ache. Did it have to end like this? Maybe it always would have. The intercom buzzed. Ms. Parker, the receptionist said carefully, there's someone asking for you. Who? A beat. Your mother. The pen cap clicked out of my hand and rolled across the contract. I stared at the door until the lines on the wood sharpened. Send her in. She came alone, smaller. The sharpness I grew up with had dulled into something fragile. She clutched a designer bag that didn't fit the rest of her anymore. For a second, we just looked at each other like we were trying to remember our parts. Emily, she said. Her voice trembled. I need help. It landed in the room and didn't move. I kept my tone steady. Help with what? She stepped forward, then stopped, like the carpet might give. Everything, she whispered. I lost the house. There it was, the command dressed as love. My stomach clenched and released. What do you want, Mom? She swallowed. Money. The word barely made it out. Advice, a plan. I'm drowning. I looked at the envelope on my desk and then back at her. You taught me to swim by holding my head under, I said. I learned, but it wasn't love. Her chin lifted, brittle pride trying for one last stand. You're heartless, she said. I raised a stone. The insult hit like a slap I'd rehearsed taking. My hands shook once against the edge of the desk, then steadied. No, I said. You raised a survivor. She pressed her fingers to her lips, breath catching. You don't understand what it's like to lose everything. Yes, I said softly, I do. You taught me how. We stood there in the quiet that follows a truth no one wants. Outside the glass, my team moved like water, emails, calls, small smiles. Inside my office, we were 2 people with the same last name and nothing else. She took a step closer. Her hand lifted, hovered, and shook. She reached for my wrist the way she used to when I was 8 and about to run across a street without looking. Please, she whispered, don't let me fall. The contact almost landed. I pulled back, not harsh, not dramatic, just enough. I helped once, I said, voice low. It cost me everything. Her eyes filled, and then the tears vanished, swallowed by old training. You're really turning your back on your own mother? I'm not turning my back, I said. I'm facing forward. We held there, her breath quick and shallow, mine even and slow because I made it be. A knock at the door. Security stood in the frame, silent, respectful, waiting on my cue. She looked from them to me. You'll regret this, she said, the last shard of the woman who used to run boardrooms with a glance. I swallowed the reflex to argue. I regret plenty, I said. Not this. I nodded to the guards. They didn't touch her. They didn't need to. She walked out on her own, spine straight, shoulders caved, designer bag swinging like it still meant something. The door clicked shut. The sound lasted longer than it should have. My lungs emptied. I sat down too fast and felt the chair rock. My hands trembled as they found each other in my lap. My eyes burned, water threatening, but it didn't spill. Relief and sadness braided together till I couldn't tell them apart. I wasn't happy. I wasn't broken. I was done. Kara appeared in the doorway, cautious. "Do you need—" "I'm okay," I said, shaky but true. She nodded and set a glass of water on my desk, backing out like she understood the moment didn't need witnesses. I sipped. The cold steadied my tongue. I turned the envelope over in my hands. The flap lifted easily. Inside, a short letter. No apology. A list of losses dressed as facts. A line that read, "You owe me this." My throat tightened. I slid it back in and set it beneath a folder, a paperweight that finally weighed nothing. My email pinged. Another. Then a third. Routine updates, vendor invoices, a CLE reminder. Then the subject line that pulled me forward. Partnership discussion, Stonebridge Legal Group. I blinked. Opened it. Read it once. Read it again because my heart sped and I needed my eyes to keep up. They wanted to talk. Not about a case. About me joining. About building. I leaned back, chest rising, breath shaking out in a laugh that surprised me. Not loud. Real. My phone buzzed. A text from a number I didn't save anymore. We need to talk. I set the phone face down and looked at the skyline again. The glass reflected a woman I finally recognized. Jaw steady, eyes wet. Posture relaxed because she earned it. I pressed my palm to the window. It was cool and honest. Kara knocked lightly. "Everything okay?" I turned, the smile small but there. "We'll need the conference room at 4, I said. "And a deck. Clean. No fluff." "For who?" "Stonebridge." Her eyebrows hit her hairline. "The Stonebridge?" "Looks that way." She grinned, quick and bright. "On it." When she left, I let the quiet settle again, the kind I used to beg for in a building that never gave it. I rolled my shoulders. The tremor in my hands had faded. My voice felt like mine again. The desk phone rang once, then stopped. An old habit died somewhere in that tiny space. I didn't reach for it. I reached for a pen. I wrote 2 names on a pad, what I'm building and what I'm done with. Under the first, I didn't list titles. I wrote, "Team that tells the truth, clients who respect the work, sleep." Under the second, I wrote nothing. I didn't need to. The empty line said enough. The intercom clicked. "Ms. Parker?" the receptionist said, not hiding the lift in her voice. "Stonebridge's managing partner is on line 2. Should I—" "Put them through," I said, standing. My legs felt steady. My mouth didn't go dry. My hand hovered over the phone for a breath that didn't shake. I glanced at the envelope one last time and slid it into the bottom drawer. Not the trash, not the top. Just away. I didn't need a ceremony to move on. The line beeped alive. I smiled because I meant it. "This is Emily." "Ms. Parker," a warm voice said. "We've been following your work. We'd like to talk partnership." I looked past my reflection to the city that once felt like a jury and now felt like a map. "I'm listening," I said. We talked terms and vision and teams. We didn't talk scars. We didn't need to. When the call ended, the room felt bigger. Not louder, just bigger. I stood at the window again and pressed my fingertips to the glass one more time, testing something invisible but finally held. "Maybe it's time to build," I said, quiet to myself. "Not just survive." My email pinged with a calendar invite. Stonebridge, partnership discussion, Friday, 10 a.m. My throat warmed with a kind of happiness I didn't have to perform. I clicked accept and closed the laptop. The office lights softened as the day leaned toward evening. I reached for my blazer, hesitated, and let it stay on the chair. The phone vibrated once more on the desk. I didn't flip it over. I let it buzz and die. I turned off the intercom and opened the door. My team looked up, a handful of faces that had chosen me before it was fashionable. "Good news?" Kara called from the copy room. "Big news," I said, voice steady. "We're meeting Stonebridge." A ripple of cheers. Not loud, proud. My chest lifted. Back in my office, I took one last look at the drawer with the envelope in it. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I stepped back to the window, let the city's glow wash across the glass, and let the final line settle where it belonged. Stonebridge wants to talk partnership. Morning light slid across the glass and stopped at my desk like it belonged here. Phones rang, then settled. Paralegals laughed at something small and warm. No one was whispering about me. No one was watching to see if I'd break. I pushed open my office door with one hand and a coffee in the other, and for the first time in years, I didn't brace. The wall outside my office wore our new name, Stonebridge Parker Legal Great. Clean letters, level, not inherited, earned. "Morning, Ms. Parker," Marcus called from the bullpen. It sounded like respect, not performance. I set the coffee down and paused in front of a framed headline by the window. "Court clears Emily Parker. Daughter rebuilds stronger." Beneath it, a photo from merger day, my team crowding into the frame, cheeks flushed, eyes bright. I didn't feel pride spike through me like it used to. I felt still. I didn't have to fight to belong here. I already did. A flicker came back, the Midtown office with the dusty walls and that dead plant leaning for light. I could hear Mark's voice from that first shaky week. "I only trust you, Emily." That sentence turned into payroll, health insurance, Christmas bonuses, a studio for mothers who needed to pump between depositions. 30 employees, 30 checks with my signature. A life. Kara poked her head in. "Tribune's here." "Send them," I said, smoothing. Her eyes warmed. "That's your pull quote." We did photos in the hallway. I didn't fix my hair twice. When she left, I didn't second-guess what I'd said. The room didn't tilt with anxiety. Peace isn't loud. It's just there. By early evening, the article dropped. From family fallout to legal powerhouse, Emily Parker redefines resilience. Comments poured in. She deserved better. She built her own empire. I skimmed a few, then set the phone down. For once, the attention felt earned, not owed. A courier knocked. "Delivery for Miss Parker." White tulips, tall and clean. The card. Proud doesn't begin to cover it. E.R. My throat tightened in a way that didn't hurt. I set the flowers beside my first case plaque. The old metal and the living white looked good together, like a before and an after that finally agreed. My phone buzzed again. A push alert. Miles' house listed for sale. The photo showed the brick, the trimmed hedges, the front door I had opened 1,000 times with a smaller spine. I stared for one breath, then locked the screen. No anger, no pity, just distance. Some endings don't need witnesses. I stayed late because I wanted to, not because fear kept me in my chair. The office dimmed itself around me, city noise falling into a soft wash below. I walked the hallway, fingertips over glass. Lights in the conference room reflecting back a woman I recognized. No ghosts waited, no footsteps trailed, just the steady heartbeat of something I built with my name. A timid knock. Liv, our newest associate, came in with a stack of files. "Miss Parker? Sorry, I didn't want to email this. It felt important." "Come in," I said. She set the files down carefully. I read the piece. "And your old case notes. I had a question." She took a breath. "How did you know when to stop fighting them?" I smiled, feeling the answer arrive from a place that didn't bleed anymore. "When I realized I wasn't fighting for them," I said. "I was fighting for me." She nodded like someone loosening a knot. I needed to hear that. "Good," I said. "Now go home." She laughed, relief in it, and left with one less weight on her shoulders. Morning again. The sun found the same path across the floor. I stood in front of the glass with the logo behind my reflection and straightened my jacket. No badge beeped me in. No voice told me to be professional like it meant small. I just existed. Owned it. Kara slipped in, phone in hand. "PR wants to schedule follow-ups. Also, Judge Ross texted congrats, and," she grinned, "clients loved the piece. We got 3 new inquiries." "Good problems," I said. She lingered. "Anything else you need?" I thought of what used to be needs. Approval, permission, the next apology to swallow whole. "Just make sure the team eats lunch," I said, "not at their desks." On it. The day unfolded in small human ways. Calls, contracts, a disagreement solved with a walk and a granola bar. At noon, someone brought cake for a paralegal's birthday. I sang, I clapped. I didn't look over my shoulder for someone to punish joy. Late afternoon, I stepped back to the headline on the wall. My reflection overlapped the words until they looked less like a defense and more like a choice. Rebuild stronger. I laughed under my breath. It wasn't grit porn. It was a schedule, a life made of Tuesday mornings and follow-ups and leaving by 6 when nothing will burn. As I gathered my bag, my phone flashed a text from a number that used to rule me. "We need to talk." My thumb hovered, then dropped. I placed the phone face down. Some doors don't need slamming, they just stay closed. I walked to the window one last time and pressed my palm against the glass. Cool, honest. The city didn't judge, it offered roots. A junior waved from the hall. "Night, Ms. Parker." "Night," I said, and meant the ease in it. On my way out, I touched the letters on the wall, Stonebridge, Parker Legal Group, and felt nothing crack inside me, only a steady, quiet yes. When people ask about my mother now, I don't flinch. I say, some people raise sons to lead. I raised myself to survive. The room goes quiet, not tense, like a truth that doesn't need an argument. I step into the elevator, breathe in, breathe out, and let the day land. Vindication felt like a gavel once. Today, it feels like leaving the office on time. If you were me, if your parent tried to end your career, would you forgive them? Tell me below. Like, subscribe, share this with someone who needs a spine today, and drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in my place?